Lewis Hamilton just confessed the real reason behind his unstable performances at Ferrari, and it's more explosive than anyone expected. Was it a setup problem? A political decision? Or was Ferrari deliberately holding back their most iconic signing? In this video, we uncover the engineering split, the data Ferrari didn't want you to see, and how Hamilton's struggles in Brazil were never about skill but sabotage. Because when the greatest driver of this generation finally tells the truth, it doesn't end the story. It starts a war. It was quiet, controlled, almost too calm for what he had just revealed. After weeks of speculation and criticism, Lewis Hamilton finally addressed the one question every fan had been asking: why has his performance with Ferrari been so unstable? The answer didn't come with blame or headlines. It came with clarity. Hamilton didn't complain. He explained. And what he revealed about Brazil, the car, and the structure behind it, sent shockwaves through the paddock. In Sao Paulo, Hamilton retired early from the race. On the outside, it looked like a routine technical issue: floor damage, uncompetitive pace, another weekend to forget. But inside that cockpit, Hamilton knew something was wrong long before turn 1. The rear grip was unstable, the car balance completely unpredictable, and the response through mid-corner transitions was off by nearly half a second per sector. He wasn't driving a Ferrari designed to win. He was driving a Ferrari designed to collect data. Hamilton confirmed what many feared: he had been running an outdated floor, without the upgraded suspension and aerodynamic package that Charles Leclerc had received weeks earlier. His feedback wasn't ignored, it was logged, archived, and left unused. His setup options were limited, his energy deployment maps untouched, and his strategy reduced to tire preservation instead of attack. In short, Hamilton was not racing with equal machinery. He was racing to validate a development path he didn't benefit from. And yet, there was no public outburst. No blame on the team. Hamilton, as always, remained composed. But this time, he was precise with his words: my performance hasn't been consistent because the conditions haven't been consistent. I'm not operating with the same platform every weekend. That wasn't an excuse. That was engineering truth. For a driver who has built his legacy on precision and adaptability, his inconsistency wasn't a failure, it was the result of being placed in a system that shifted underneath him. What made this admission so powerful wasn't just the content, it was the timing. Ferrari had gone silent in recent weeks. No public defense of Hamilton. No acknowledgement of the technical split. No clarification after Brazil. Internally, they had focused on Leclerc's future and left Hamilton to carry the political weight of performance without performance tools. When the president of Ferrari spoke on the team's vision post-Brazil, Hamilton's name wasn't even mentioned. Now, that silence has a spotlight. And Lewis Hamilton, in just a few sentences, exposed everything without needing to raise his voice. He's not fighting a rival on track. He's revealing a system that underestimated the wrong man. Because when a legend like Hamilton speaks calmly, intelligently, and backed by data, it's not a complaint. When Hamilton's telemetry from Brazil was finally reviewed by insiders, what it revealed was impossible to ignore. From the first lap of FP1, his car was unable to generate stable rear tire temperatures. That meant unpredictable traction out of corners, increased degradation, and a platform that punished consistency. His average rear surface temperature was down by more than 3 degrees compared to Leclerc, a gap that translates into chronic underperformance over a full race stint. This wasn't just a setup miss. This was a fundamental imbalance built into the hardware. The floor Hamilton was running had been superseded 3 weeks earlier. It lacked the reinforced edges designed to stabilize high-speed yaw movement, crucial at a circuit like Interlagos where corners flow aggressively. And when light floor damage occurred early in the race, Hamilton lost nearly 30 points of aerodynamic load. On paper, that made his car the slowest on the grid in Sector 2. But the real question wasn't what happened. It was why he had been running that version in the first place. The answer came in quiet briefings and unofficial notes. Hamilton's car had been assigned as the baseline data set for Maranello's final development simulations. That means while Leclerc was pushing upgraded parts with flexible setup options, Hamilton was being asked to run consistent conditions for cross-reference. Not faster. Just reliable. He wasn't set up to compete equally, he was being used to balance the numbers. That is not how you treat a 7-time world champion. His brake balance was forced into narrower windows. His differential settings were limited. Even his energy deployment was capped at a version 3 race weekends behind. The result? A car that looked slow on paper, but in truth had been shackled before the lights went out. Hamilton's driving wasn't the problem. It was what he was being asked to drive that defined his inconsistency. It's why Sector 3 times would collapse late in the race. Why his tire drop-off rate exceeded Leclerc's by over 20%. Why he couldn't go deep into stints even when his technique said he should. Fans saw inconsistency. Engineers saw limitations. And now, with Hamilton's own words confirming it, the truth is out. Long before Brazil, Ferrari had already made a decision not on track, but behind closed doors in Maranello. After the Mexico Grand Prix, a closed-door strategy session between senior engineers and performance directors concluded with a bold but divisive move: prioritize long-term development through Leclerc. Hamilton's car would serve as the control unit, reliable, unchanged, stable. Not optimized. Not upgraded. Just measured. It was a decision dressed in logic. Leclerc had more time in the car, more familiarity with Ferrari's baseline. He was younger, already integrated into the team's future plans. For Hamilton, the story was different. He was still adapting to the nuances of the SF25 chassis. He still spoke through data and feeling, not political leverage. And that made him vulnerable. Ferrari shifted their focus and didn't say a word. This shift wasn't theoretical. It was hardware. While Leclerc received the upgraded floor with enhanced flow conditioning, Hamilton was kept on the legacy version. New rear suspension mounts? Only one car got them. Revised cooling ducts and battery harvesting maps? Also exclusive. The engineers even altered simulation time. Leclerc's program received deeper compound testing. Hamilton? Restricted to back-to-back comparisons. He had become the internal yardstick. But this is where the story changes. Because Hamilton didn't fight it. He studied it. He watched the data come in. He adapted his driving. He began altering brake modulation patterns. He started recalibrating his lift and coast techniques to preserve tire life under worse conditions. While Leclerc pushed on with a more forgiving platform, Hamilton learned to extract performance with less, and the engineers started noticing. By the time the team reached Qatar, Hamilton's long-run metrics showed a breakthrough. Despite being 2 specs behind, he delivered degradation numbers within 5% of Leclerc and outperformed him in entry speed through low-speed sectors. The team couldn't ignore it. The data they thought would prove Leclerc's superiority had begun revealing Hamilton's genius. Ferrari never made a formal announcement. There was no press release stating that Lewis Hamilton would be operating with reduced development. No team principal came forward to explain the unequal distribution of upgrades. But their silence was louder than any interview. The press conferences became shorter. Mentions of Hamilton's performance became vaguer. The engineering team began highlighting Leclerc's feedback more than anyone else's. For a driver who'd been signed to lead a revolution, Hamilton was being faded into the background by design. It all became crystal clear after the Brazilian Grand Prix. While the media focused on Hamilton's early retirement and the mechanical excuse, Ferrari's president, John Elkann, took the stage at a global innovation summit in Italy. There, he spoke of progress, future focus, and the drivers who define the DNA of Ferrari moving forward. Leclerc's name was mentioned 3 times. Hamilton's? Not once. Not a thank you. Not even a gesture of acknowledgement. And that absence wasn't accidental. It was policy. Yet Hamilton didn't push back. He didn't tweet a vague quote. He didn't leak frustration through his inner circle. Instead, he did something far more dangerous for those trying to marginalize him. He prepared. Back in the simulator, back in engineering briefings, Hamilton refocused his efforts. He began meeting with tire analysts. He reviewed camber curves. He refined his braking maps, building consistency into a car that was never designed to match Leclerc's pace. He turned silence into sharpness. Then came the next race. Without the new floor, without the revised battery system, and without the high-efficiency rear wing, Hamilton went out in FP2 and matched Leclerc's mini-sector times through S1 and S3. On soft tires, he delivered a qualifying lap within 3/10 of a fully upgraded Ferrari. Engineers began noticing. The paddock started whispering. How was Hamilton getting this kind of performance from a slower car? Because Hamilton wasn't reacting emotionally. He was working tactically. With every lap, he was quietly revealing the imbalance. Not by pointing fingers, but by closing the gap. By refusing to fade. By proving through data, not drama, that his inconsistency wasn't a drop in form. It was the result of unequal tools, exposed in broad daylight. Ferrari had tried to control the story by saying nothing. But Hamilton's driving began speaking louder than anything they could silence. And now, the world is listening not just to the radio, but to the telemetry.